Hey, this is John Leonard with the Carmel Artomobilia. We are doing Passion Behind the Cars, and where we have car collectors tell stories about their individual cars, how they came to have them, and all the fun things that go along with that. I've got Rich here with me. He has an absolutely beautiful and expansive collection of a variety of cars, but they focus really around a few different marques. Jaguar, Ford Thunderbirds, a few Pontiacs, and then quite a number of Corvettes. So let's talk about each of those. First and foremost, thanks for having us out. This collection is absolutely beautiful. So tell us a little bit about how you got started, and let's start with the Jags, since you certainly have a lot of those.
Well, I started collecting Jags in 1973, bought my first one, which is back in the corner there, and took delivery in London, England. Drove it around Europe for 6-8 weeks, and then had it shipped back to this country.
Sure.
And I've kept it ever since. It's got about 40,000 miles on it.
Wow.
And I do drive that one every summer.
Yeah, yeah.
And many of these others I don't. And that just started the bug where then, well, maybe I started showing it. Maybe I'd like to show Jags. And so then, well, okay, I'm going to show them. I got to get them right. So then I started rebuilding them. And then that led to complete concourse restoration, which are bunches of them in here.
Yeah.
So that I would be competitive in the showing arena.
Right. And just so we're clear, it's not like you have them restored. You're restoring them yourself.
Right.
Turning the wrenches.
We do it all.
Yeah.
We do it all except body work.
Okay.
Body and paint. When
Yeah.
I try to paint, everybody kind of chuckles around the place. Even if I'm painting a part that goes, underneath the middle of the engine somewhere you can't see it, and they see a run, I just can't do it.
Right.
So that I have someone else do, but everything else we do.
All the mechanical.
Build motors.
Yeah.
Build transmissions. Build rear ends. Wiring. Everything.
Wow. So there's a lot of hours, a lot of love in each of the restorations you've done. So tell us about the most interesting Jag you have in your collection, apart from the one that you bought brand new 45 years ago.
Well, probably the one that people have the most interested in is the SS100 back there. That's a real pre-war gem of Jaguar Automobilia. Actually, it wasn't called really a Jaguar, it was called SS cars then.
Yeah.
And in 35, they started with SS Jaguar on the SS100. Then obviously because of the connotation of SS in the war, they dropped it. And after World War II, they were just called Jaguar
Stuck
cars.
with the Jaguar.
And they've been Jaguar ever since. That's the one that most everybody
gravitates to.
It's the collectible.
Sure.
One of the collectible Jags. There are a few post-war race cars that are more so, but for the most part, that's the one.
Wow. Well, it's beautiful. Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about Ford Thunderbirds. And you've got some absolutely stunning cars, not just their condition, but just the design, the years that you've selected. What got you interested into the Thunderbirds?
My dad was a Thunderbird man. He was always after me. When are you going to get rid of the Jags and get into some Thunderbirds?
Right.
So I started getting Thunderbirds, and I liked one out of each of the different early models, the baby birds, the square birds, the round birds, and then I just looked for as good as I could find, and then spruced them up or kept them as show cars.
Sure.
So they're basically show cars.
Yeah, well, they're absolutely gorgeous, and the pink baby bird that you have over there, unbelievable. I have a soft spot for the square bird, obviously. Those are absolutely fantastic. So we move through the Thunderbird phase, and we get into Pontiacs, right? Again, unpredictable, right?
The first car,
keep everyone on their toes all the time.
The very first car I ever personally bought was a 69 GTO Pontiac. Red, white interior, white top. And I loved that car.
Right.
But I traded it in on my 73 Jag. You always worry about, you kind of cry about the one that got away, and that's the one. So then I decided, well, I'll get some Pontiacs. I like the big block Pontiacs, the GTOs, the Grand Prix, the Bonnevilles. I collect all 66. A lot of my cars are 1966 because that's when I was 21.
Yeah.
So that's just
that's
crazy.
The significance.
That's the significance of 66.
Okay. And tell me the story about the GTO, because that's a great story.
Well, the GTO is one car made out of two. The one was a front end crash that just crushed the front of the car, and the other one rolled off the overpass onto the interstate and just crushed the top. So I had a good frame. Both of them had great motors, the 389 with 3 deuces. So I made one
good car out of it.
Good car out of it. The one that rolled over was a sedan. No, I got that back. It was a convertible. The one that ran in and just crushed the front end was a coupe.
Yeah.
So I used the bottom of the convertible and then rebuilt the rest of it from what I had over.
Well, it looks great. And the Grand Prix and the Bonneville, those are interesting cars. You're just not a collector. You actually take these cars out and enjoy them, and it's just not a museum piece. Tell us about the I believe it's the Grand Prix.
The Grand Prix, I saw one rainy Thanksgiving on a used car lot in town, and it's a 421 high output, and I said, man, that car can't sit out in the rain. So it was a little rough, so we bought it and drug it home, tore it all apart and redid it, put it all back together, and it's a great road rally, vintage car, road rally car now. They love the sound, they love the big motor, all the stuff that goes with it.
And again, 3 deuces.
3 deuces, her shifter,
so between
rally tack, the whole bit.
Between Jaguars, Pontiacs, and some of the vets downstairs, you have no fear around any kind of carburation.
As long as it's pre-computers and fuel injection. I don't have the capability of doing that. But anything prior to that, we just rip apart.
Yeah,
Put back together.
That's something. Okay, so then that leaves us with the Bonneville, and that thing is absolutely gorgeous. What's the story there?
I found it in a museum that wanted to get rid of it. It was really rough, ragged. So once again, pull the motor, pull everything, repaint it, redo the interior, rebuild everything and put it back together. I use that every year in the Woodward Avenue cruise, drive it up to Detroit. It's always a big hit in Detroit. It's just a big, comfortable boat. It's like floating along down the road.
Classic American iron.
Giant car.
Absolutely. That's great. So the museum you have here is amazing because it also includes gas pumps and a lot of neon and things like that. What's the significance of the gas pump in your life growing up and the influence it's had in cars?
Well, my dad had started out with one service station in LaPorte, Indiana in 1948. By the time he sold it all, he had about 30 of them. So I spent a lot of hours pumping gas in gas stations. Somebody wouldn't show up for work and it'd be, Dick, get out of bed. You got to go work at such and such till it closes at midnight.
I
did a lot of that. And so I grew up around them all as times changed and the pumps changed. And it's just one of those things that struck my fancy, so I started collecting them.
Yeah, well, they're absolutely gorgeous, just like the rest of these cars. So we'll take one more shift and talk about the downstairs.
Okay.
And those are the Corvettes.
Right.
And I don't know that I've ever seen a selection of Corvettes as nice as the Corvettes you have, but also as low mileage isn't even a good description, because literally the plastic on many of them are still on the seats, around the wheel. They're basically brand new cars.
Right. This is what my wife thinks is a real sickness.
Right.
I mean, the whole business she thinks is kind of a sickness, but when it comes to buying a brand new car and never touching it, that's a little bit beyond what she could expect. So I just try to keep them low mileage. Most of them are under 100 miles.
Yeah. And you've got, it seems like 2 sets. You've got older Corvettes and you've got pace cars.
Well, the older ones we've restored. Obviously, those are not low miles because had to hunt them up and find them somewhere.
Sure.
The newer ones, the pace cars, I try to get all the Corvette Indianapolis pace cars with less than 100 miles.
Wow.
And I think other than one exception, I've managed to do that.
Yeah. Well, they are absolutely beautiful. Your collection here is, honestly, I see a lot of car collections. This is among the nicest that I've ever seen. We really appreciate you letting us come in, hear some of the stories about how you put it together and the blood, sweat, and tears. And I appreciate you having us, and thanks again.
Sure enough, it's not work when you love doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. When you love what you do, you don't work a day.
Right.
Absolutely. Thanks again. So one more time, a great story with Rich and his mini cars, and it just goes to illustrate the breadth and depth of the car hobby. It's not just Jaguars. It's not just Corvettes. There's something here that is fascinating that really underscores the automotive lifestyle. And we appreciate Rich for having us out and having a look at his beautiful cars. Thanks again, Rich.
You're welcome.
Agreed value, mileage rollover, and tiered mileage plans. Classic Auto, insuring your vehicle, insuring your passion. Call or click Classic Auto today.